This is a CBS News special report. Terror at the Olympics.
Where early this morning, armed Palestinian guerrillas raided the sleeping quarters of the Israeli team. The gunmen shot dead 2 Israelis and are now holding 20 athletes and 6 officials as hostages. The guerrillas are demanding the release of 250 Arabs held prisoner in Israel and have set noon as the deadline for their release. Negotiations are going on with the German government. The raid happened at about 4 a.m.
Good morning, everybody. I am in the Olympic Village here in Munich. It's a crazy German shout. And I'm going to do a video on the Munich Massacre and a bit of a true crime international style. We'll see how it goes. So I hope you enjoy. I think it's important to realise while I'm trying to find where I'm going. It's a maze, this place. The 1972 Olympics came off the back of 2 quite important events in Palestine. The Israelis' War of Independence was in the 40s and the Six-Day War of 1967. And they had rejected 2 of the UN's ideas for reconciliation, shall we say. And they wanted to make an impact, and because of UN's involvement, breakaway terrorist organisations were created, like Black September, and it was Black September that was behind this. So I should say it was more UN state solutions that were rejected, which caused the breakaway companies. But here it is, this is where it happened. The 4th or the 5th of September 1972, 8 members of Black September broke into there and held the people hostage. So all that footage you've seen, it all happened here. It's also important to remember that Germany, who had had the 36 Olympics, Hitler's Olympics, were trying to rid themselves of the authoritarian tag, and they'd coined this as the friendly games, the cheerful games. And that's what they were trying to create for these games. But is in there where it all happened, and I'll show you a couple of the other memorials. That are in the Olympic Park here in Munich, and tell you a bit more about the background and what happened and the aftermath. Well, this is another memorial here, and I can't speak Hebrew, but I believe it's the names of all the victims, the 11 members of the Israeli Olympic team that died, and Anton Flieber was the German police officer that died at the end in the shooting. So, demands that they had for releasing the hostages were they wanted 232 Palestinians released from prison and 2 Germans. Around 4:45 they tried to release, the Bavarian police tried to free the hostages, but nobody had cut off the electricity, so the terrorists could see, were watching it live on TV, so they could see what was happening. These are a list of the victims. These are the 11 Israeli members of the Israeli Olympic team that got killed. The terrorists then demanded to be flown to Cairo with the hostages, and they had arranged for 2 helicopters to be flown to where we started this video, and then they would be flown to a German airfield.
Die deutsche Presseagentur meldete eben nach Tel Aviv, mit Entsetzen hat Israel die Nachricht von dem Attentat auf die Olympiamannschaft in München zur Kenntnis genommen.
Flown to Cairo, but Bavarian police and officials never intended that to happen. They only thought there was 5 terrorists. There was 8. And when they got to the airfield, two of the terrorists went to check out the plane. The police had blacked out the runway when they had gone over to the plane, and then opened fire. One of the terrorists got killed, but they entered gunfire with the terrorists, and there was no real control to it. The police had snipers, but they were just ordinary police officers. They weren't snipers, they just had rifles. It was just on a roof, and it just turned into chaos, and it went on for an hour or so, and then as a result the terrorists threw grenades into the helicopters where the hostages were and shot them, and all 11 hostages died.
On the shootout last night, ABC's Lou Chaffee was there. There are still a lot of questions to be answered about what happened last night at Fürstenfeldbruck Air Base. However, the German authorities admit that they tried to ambush the guerrillas and failed. The ambush was attempted soon after the guerrillas and their hostages arrived at the airport by helicopter. There they were supposed to have boarded a German jetliner for a flight to an Arab nation. The German government says it was convinced that this would have meant certain death for the Israelis, and the decision was made to try to either disable or kill the guerrillas at the airport. They admit that police sharpshooters opened fire first. The guerrillas who were not hit then opened fire on the hostages. When it was over, all 9 Israelis were dead. 5 guerrillas were killed, 3 others captured. A German policeman also died. What made the tragedy seem even worse was the fact that for hours last night, there was a report that all of the Israelis had been liberated, a report which was not denied at the time. German authorities blame poor communications with the airbase, which was completely sealed off. One newspaper summed it up by saying, "Whatever the truth about the tragic events of last night, Germany will emerge a loser."
Now, the aftermath for this is kind of famous. They didn't cancel the Olympic Games. The show must go on, as they say. The remaining terrorists, there was 3 remaining. They were arrested and they were in prison here in Munich, and there was a hijacked plane in October of 1972, and they demanded the release of the terrorists from the Munich Massacre, and they were granted and they were freed. And when they got back to Libya, they were given a hero's welcome. They were given military parades and everything. They were treated as heroes. Now, in Israel, they had something called the Wrath of God, where the remaining terrorists were to be found and assassinated and killed. And 2 of them are claimed to have been killed because of this, but other people have said they died of natural causes. They weren't killed because of the Wrath of God. And one of the terrorists remains. But the innocent people, the Israeli Olympic team, they didn't get commemorated at all by the Olympic Committee. They had these memorials in Munich, but the Olympic Committee never did anything for them until Tokyo in 2020, when they were finally given their minute silence, and the families battled hard for that, just to be recognised for what happened. And that only happened 2 years ago, the last Olympics. I think it must be 11 Olympics have gone by, and nothing happened. There was cause for them to do something at London, but it never happened. But here we are, and the police are here now, so I better go. Hello.
Is it Dutch?
No.
English?
Yes.
Okay. Are you here on holiday?
Yeah.
Just videotaping your stuff?
Yeah, just about the massacre. Yeah.
Do you have a passport with you?
I don't. I've got a driving licence.
That's fine. Well,
You want that? Yeah.
where are you from?
England.
Who lost their lives during the Olympic Games. One group still hold a strong place in all our memories and stand for all of those we have lost at the Games. The members of the Israeli delegation at the Olympic Games Munich, 1972. And for all of us here in the stadium, we invite you to stand for this moment of silence.
黙祷。
Thank you.
お直りください。
Mokto, silence in Japanese.